just as I am. Back when I still believed fear was part of the master's plan. But fear don't allow for just as I am, just as I am. Oh, conditional love, it's the if and when. You might ever do enough to win you a place to stand in the company of saints, or maybe with the Son of Man. No if and when don't allow for just as I am, just as I am. So at the end of the day, well, I've got my own faith. It's mostly letting go of thinking I know the way. So come what will, and come what may, pray loving I will be. All the talk about it, you know what, when who knows when. Pointing out everything that's wrong will never make us right in the end. And there'll never be enough, never enough time to spend in the state of grace of just as I am, just as I am. So you live and let live, and then you let it be. Maybe try to forgive everyone of everything. You know your life's too short not to hear your heart sing. Every woman and man has the right to just as I am, just as I am. Every woman and man, every woman and man, every woman and woman, man and a man, every woman and a woman, man and a man, every woman and man has a right to just as I am, just as I am. So I don't think I can go back again to before I'd made my peace with just as I am. There'll never be enough, never enough time to spend in the state of grace of just as I am, just as I am. No, there'll never be enough, never enough time to spend in the state of grace of just as I am, just as I am.
Good morning. Welcome back to All Souls Unitarian Universalist Church. We are, some of us here in the sanctuary, some of us still virtually attending, some of us in both places for the first time. We're newly attempting to develop a hybrid service so that we can conduct smoothly interactions between those online and those present in the room. But we hope you'll bear with us and that this will still be a good, positive experience for each of you. This is a church built on covenant, not creed. We don't have to think alike to love alike. Our challenge and our covenant is to treat respectfully those with differing paths and opinions. So whoever you are, whatever your age, race, origin, orientation, background, status, ability, identity, if you care to be here with us, you are always welcome. There is a good bit going on. I would just say that we front load these services with a little bit of information so that you know kind of what's going on. And I would invite our board treasurer, Rebecca Tuggle, to come give you some announcements.
Thank you, Barbara. Good morning, everybody. Glad to be back again. Would like to announce the volunteer of the month for November is Kevin Henry, who unfortunately is not here. I hope he is watching. He's done a lot as far as painting inside the sanctuary, well, not inside the sanctuary, but inside the building itself, and he has done a marvelous job, so we wanted to thank him for that. Give away the plate this month. We always try to give away a portion of what we get for a worthy cause, hopefully here locally, and this is local, the Northwest Louisiana Food Bank, because this is that time of year when people do tend to need more rather than less. Also want to thank everybody who came out yesterday for Building and Grounds Day. If you're here, if you'd please stand up so we could recognize you with a round of applause. And it doesn't look like anybody's here, but we're going to give them a round of applause anyway. Oh yeah, you were, okay, good. Tina and Dawn, you better get up. Thank you very, very much. Because really and truly, we rely on our congregation to keep this building maintained and cleaned, and we appreciate anybody and everybody who volunteers their time and effort to assist us with this. Zoom lunch happens on Wednesdays, and it will happen again this Wednesday, the 17th at noon, so please check for the link and join your All Souls friends for lunch hour. Larry Andros, who does such a wonderful job leading our service meditations, also leads a sitting Buddhist meditation, and that group meets on Saturday mornings at 10:30. That is still going on online, so for more information, please contact Larry via email or phone, and you will see those links in the chat that is on as well. We're working on getting our 2022 pledge drive finalized and getting those materials out to everyone via email. Copies of the 2022 pledge form are found in the foyer. We actually have a few here if you'd like to complete one now. We need a completed form on file because our bookkeeper, the marvelous Jan, needs some backup for any kind of pledge, and she wants to make sure that your money is going to that pledge. Also, any contributions that you would like to make today, as well as if you are a visitor here, there are blue cards in the pockets in the back of the pews. If you would fill one of those out and put those in the baskets as well. But for any contributions that you would like to make today, there are baskets at the back of the sanctuary, and if you will just drop those when you're leaving, that would be great. And thank you so much for your support, because that is the way that we keep this church going. So thank you very much.
And good morning. I am Susan Caldwell. I'm the Director of Religious Education here, and wanted to remind you that we are not yet having our classes for children and youth. We look forward to the time when we can reinstate those, but our classrooms are on the small side, And also, we want you to be back with us, to be back together before I really start to push the big teacher recruitment and teacher training. But we will, I'm hoping to have that training very soon and to start back with classes. Ideally, by mid-January is what we'd really like to do. So hold that thought and don't give up on us. And adult religious education has been going very well. We've been doing anti-racism work, most recently a series on 13 different kinds of bias that a podcast we've been listening to and then discussing on Sunday mornings at 9. We, however, will not meet next week at 9. We'll be back together again in 2 weeks. That is still via Zoom, and we'll continue on Zoom for the foreseeable future. But so if you would like the link for that, if you're signed up for the weekly email, that will, you can find out when that is and get the Zoom link for that. But the reason we're not meeting next week is kind of exciting, because believe it or not, we're actually going to have a Thanksgiving potluck. Applause one? Yeah, don't make me do the Jeb Bush thing, please clap. So we are, and we're going to do it as safely as we can. I'm going to be passing around a sign up, whatever you would like to bring or help with. There's slots for cleanup, there's slots for setup, and there's slots for all different kinds of foods. One thing that's crossed out, we were thinking about having servers, but I talked with Amanda Lawrence, who wanted to be with us on the Zoom this morning, but we hold Amanda in our hearts, and she will definitely be here next week. But instead of having servers, we're going to have hand sanitizer at the beginning of the line so that because we know the virus isn't spread hand to hand. We know a lot more than we did at the beginning of all this. And we'll be setting up tables inside and out to facilitate a little bit more distancing. And it's going to be great. It's going to be great. So I am passing around a sign up. If you can sign up now, we'll also be putting a sign up genius online. So watch for that. If you aren't sure yet what you want to bring, you can always sign up later. But we would love to be able to go ahead and fill up that sign up genius. It's always easier for people to sign up for things when they see that somebody else already has. So let's help them out today and do this analog sign-in sheet. So thank you very much and welcome.
Thank you all. We're walking slowly back into this and doing our best to keep everybody safe. And being mindful of how many young people still are not vaccinated. I thank y'all for self-distancing the people that are here in the sanctuary, and want to encourage folks to begin finding their way back to the live service. I know that we got kind of used to watching church in our pajamas and not having to get up particularly early to get here, but it's really important that we redevelop a visceral sense of community. I think it helps us in all our work and all our efforts in the community at large. So if you'll relax your shoulders and let them drop away from your ears and take a few deep breaths, let us enter a spirit of worship that we use in the Old English derivation of that word for elevating and contemplating matters of worth. Although we are not the first to settle here, welcome to what for today I will call our settlement. This land was for some time uninhabited by humans before we built here, but there were people here before that, and it may have even been sacred land according to some experiences that people have had on the property. But this reading is adapted from Laura Bogle. We gather here to remember this is our home, but not just ours. These old bluffs that hold us steady to our ground, these woods that give us their healing green, the flowers that give us their beauty and fragrance, the fields that give us our daily bread, the stars that show us our place, the wilderness and the tame backyards, all of it our home. We remember the ancestors who have lived on this land and who have shaped it. The Caddo, Osage, and Choctaw, the settlers, the frontiers people, the farmers, the hunters, the immigrants, the artists, the families, the explorers, pioneers, the business people, the engineers, the builders, craftspeople, the scientists, the teachers, the workers, the leaders. We inherit their choices. We honor the animals and creatures that have made their home in this land. The ones here now, the ones that used to be here. We envision the future generations who will live on this land and let their voices fill our hearts. We gather here to remember this is our home, but not just ours. And adapted from Kelly Murphy Mason. In the unity of the Spirit, in the sanctity of this gathering, let us quiet ourselves as we settle into a reflective mode, a time when we can each listen to that still, small voice within. All our souls speak to us if we trust ourselves to listen to them and hear them. What do they tell us this day? Whether our innermost yearnings find voice in a sincere intention, a prayer, a passage, a scripture, a profound lament, or sudden insight, we honor those. We stay present to the wisdom that arises from within. We welcome whatever arrives, be it bidden or unbidden. We find rest in calming toward our own center, that secure core of our being, which houses our surest sense of the holy, the profound, the sacredness of being. We allow ourselves to know consolation. We grow mindful, ever mindful, not only of ourselves, but also for those dear to us, those here in our midst, those absent today, those held close in memory, those in distant places, feeling ourselves enfolded in loving kindness that is everywhere abiding. Here we find place together, still. We make note of gratitude and settle it into our hearts. we do not fail to rejoice. Feeling ourselves enfolded in loving kindness, we are blessed by this present company and this time we have set aside for devotion, celebration, deepening, and expanding, settling in. We give thanks to you, which are beyond all our naming, the source of our being, sustainer of our becoming, undying light, infinite peace, essence of goodness and compassion, for this moment of respite and for every tender mercy we have ever known in our lives and through the generations and ages. Amen. Ashe. Blessed be. I would like to invite David, Kate, and Jackson to help us with the first part of our chalice lighting this morning. You want to come light the chalice? There you go. Thank you. I hope our sound transitions carried that to the internet. We'll work on that a bit. It's said that ministers are here to comfort the afflicted and afflict the comfortable. I say we are all afflicted. We are all comfortable. May our time together this morning be a comfort and a confrontation. May we here find peace in times of tumult. May we invite tumult into lives of peace. May we here find calm in times of restlessness. May we here allow restlessness to evolve into action. Let this be the place you consider what you've never considered. Let this be the place you imagine for yourself, something new and unthinkable. May this hour bring dreams of new ways of being in the world. Come, let us worship together. Are we a people of holding on or of letting go? Holding on to rigid ideas or letting go and opening our minds and our hearts to something new? Holding on to certainty of how things should be, or letting go and living with the uncertainty of new ways of being in the world? Holding on to what makes us comfortable, or letting go so we may grow, which can quite often be uncomfortable. Holding on to what makes us safe, or letting go to make room to help others feel safe. With this flame, this symbol of our tradition, our religion, the binding together, let it be a symbol of burning up the ties that hold us back from being our true self and reaching our true potential. Let it be a symbol of lighting a new way for us into a better tomorrow, and let it be a symbol of letting go, because holding on too long and too tightly is never good for the soul. Would you please join me in the unison affirmation? I believe it will be on the screen if you're unfamiliar with it. Rise in body or spirit, and say it with us as you will, please. Love is the doctrine of this church. The quest for truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge and freedom, to serve human need to the end that all souls shall grow into harmony with the sacred. Thus do we covenant with each other. Thank you. I want to encourage us while we're wearing masks to do that as enthusiastically as possible so we can actually hear one another. Our opening hymn is For All That Is Our Life. The lyrics will be on the screen. It's also hymn 121 in the gray hardback hymnal, 128, I'm sorry, in the gray hardback hymnal, Singing the Living Tradition, if it's easier for you to see and work with that. Miss Susan? Oh.
So, as Reverend Barbara mentioned earlier, we stand on land of the Caddo Nation, which includes the Adai, the Dusioni, the Natchitoches, the Washita, and the Yatasi. So no discussion of settling in, settling down, and especially not settling is complete without talking about our responsibility as settlers. Many of us are descended from people who settled in what was once called the New World, even though it wasn't new at all to the people who were already living here. And as we approach another Thanksgiving, we look back at the history of those settlers who came before, and we're coming to realize that we cannot settle for that history. The heroic story of settlers forging a life in this so-called New World is also, at the same time, a not-so-heroic story of conquest and disease and killing the people who were already here. And if we're really doing the work of anti-racism, it's important to reveal it so we begin to heal it. Sometimes I think we may end up with the responsibility to teach history in the same way that we've tried to teach factual sex education, you know, that we're going to have that same kind of responsibility on us. And so it's tempting just to say, okay, well, let's forget that story. We don't wear pilgrim costumes. We don't wear buckle shoes or funny hats. We certainly don't misappropriate native dress. We'd never do any of that tacky stuff. So let's just have a nice holiday celebrating gratitude and love and joy. But if we're really about being honest about our history, we can't just suspend that for a day of turkey and football. We can't settle for an incomplete story about settlers. We can't settle for teaching as if history didn't count until white people showed up. We can't settle for saying we're memorializing the first Thanksgiving when the Mashpee, Wampanoag, and other tribes had traditions and prayers and songs of Thanksgiving that they observed and said and sang every day of every year for years and years before that first one, that so-called first one. So if we're going to teach our kids that telling the truth is important, and it is, isn't it, kids? Telling the truth is important, right? So if we're going to teach our kids that, we need to back that up by being willing not to settle for lies in the teaching of our history, even when the truth is messy and painful. We settlers have a responsibility not to settle for glossing it over, but to teach our kids that we can mourn the hard truths and celebrate the possibility of a nation that can do better. We can acknowledge what's broken and do our part to fix it. So next week, as we pause to celebrate gratitude, we'll be grateful for the truth-telling and the opportunity to work toward healing. We don't have to settle for less. Thanks.
Good morning. For today's meditation, let yourself find a comfortable position, a position in which your body can be balanced and your spine straight. Begin with a deep, comfortable breath, shifting your attention to your heart space. And imagine breathing in and out of your heart. Allow your breath to deepen and slow. Allow your breath to be soft and kind. As breath and mind and body center in this sacred moment, reflect. As I have traveled on my path of life, I have learned to cherish certain treasures of the heart. Kindness as a way of being with myself and others. Peace as a way of healing presence. Truth as a guide for every step I choose. Love as a bridge from self to beloved community. Respect to honor those who came before me. And joy as a celebration of what we can create together. These values are my treasures, what I seek to live and share and bring to earth. Yet I have so often found that others do not share what I hold so dear. What is the place of kindness in a world that can be so cruel and cold? What is the place of truth in a world of shifting mirrors and deception. If I value openness and acceptance and compassion for all, do I let greed and aggression move as they wish through my world? Every day seems to display some victory of selfishness and separation. In a time when worldviews are locked in global struggle, it would be so easy to settle into complacency. My greatest gift seems small indeed. In this sacred moment, I listen to the wisdom of the heart. Though my stature is small, the vision I cherish embraces the dreams of all humanity throughout time for a world more beautiful. Though my voice is soft, I speak from the power of a truth that can change the course of history. Though storms of aggression and injustice may rage, I shall be a mountain, strong and grounded in the face of every challenge. Though I am but one person, I walk hand in hand with beloved community to build bridges of peace and justice for future generations. I follow the way of the open heart, accepting all, embracing each new moment. Yet I will not swerve from the awakening vision of peace and healing that inspires my life. In this moment of new beginnings, I center in my breath. Breathing in, I embrace the vision. Breathing out, I make that vision real, here and now.
I'm going to share a reading from someone named Robert Walsh, but I wanted to remind you of the new way that we are doing our candle lightings here, trying to be mindful of vulnerabilities rather than passing a candle one to another as we've done in the past. I will be holding long matches. I will come down with the chalice. You can take a match, light it from the chalice, then light your candle, honoring your concern or your joy or whatever is on your heart. And then put it into the white receptacle with the sand in it to snuff it out so that we're not trying to blow out flames or, does that make sense to everybody? Okay, and if it doesn't, then just try to follow the people in front of you. I would say don't light it too early before you go to the candle thing, so you don't have to have a long flame burning before you get to the little candles. Makes it harder to light them. All right. From Robert Walsh. I knew a man who had printed on his stationery this proverb: nothing is settled. Everything matters. It established a certain ambiance for reading his letters, as if to say, what you're about to read is to be taken seriously, but it's not final. I remember him and his proverbs sometimes, especially when it seems impossible to change the world or myself in any significant way. And parenthetically, again, I remembered I lived in Louisiana because everything I voted for yesterday failed and everything I voted against succeeded. So, it seems to be often the case. Not telling you anything about how I voted. Anyway, I remember him, so times like the beginnings of new years, I remember his proverb. Sorry, Jim, I say, it's not true that nothing is settled. In the past year, choices have been made, losses have been suffered, there has been growth and decay, there have been commitments and betrayals. None of that can be undone. A year ago, no one knew whether during this year one person would become pregnant, another would get cancer, another would take a new job, another would have an accident, but now it is settled. One day this year, I was present just when someone needed me. Another day, I was doing something else when I was needed. One day I said something to a friend that injured our relationship. Another day I said something that enabled a person to see life in a new way. The best and the worst of those days are now written. All my tears of joy or sorrow cannot erase it. If I stay with my meditation long enough, the reply comes, Robbie, says Jim, you've misunderstood the proverb. It is true that you cannot escape the consequences of your actions or the chances of the world. But what is not settled is how the story turns out. What is not settled is what the meaning of your life will be. The meaning of a life is not contained within one act or one day or 1 year. As long as you are alive, the story of your life is still being told, and the meaning is still open. As long as there is life in the world, the story of the world is still being told. What's done is done, but nothing is settled. And if nothing is settled, then everything matters. Every choice, every act in the new year matters, every word. And when we come back together at the beginning of what I will call the school year, we celebrate the beginning of church years. And we did that early in the fall, but now that we are coming back together in person some, I want to think about it as a new year yet again. Every word, every deed is making the meaning of your life and telling the story of the world. Everything matters in the year to come. And more importantly, everything matters today. Let us think about what might be ahead of us today, what we are carrying with us into this time together. Let's find ways to settle, but not necessarily settle for. I don't know why such petty games
I don't know why there's so many things left to hold on to that tie me down. Something old is giving me a warning. Ancient dream, apocalyptical prophecy of a coming time when the earth will tremble with a fever and a chill. Yes, it will. I have had the good graces to meet a few friends who I can turn to in my dark house. And I wonder if they see just what they mean to me, those shining flowers in God's garden. I'm trying to spread my love day by day, but it's hard to stay that open-hearted way. We all need love to see us through the cold and lonely nights. We're all destined to fly the same soaring heights. Sometimes I fool myself into thinking that I've got nothing left to offer here. That's when I try to be a little kinder to myself and the world all around. Why can't we just love one another the way we should? As sisters and brothers, help along the way back home. We're all going home.
Miss Susan's story this morning covered a whole lot of ground, talking about settlers. White history in America is full of stories with large portions that for generations have been left out, centuries. We've been settlers, the white population, and historically, very often, unsettling all that we encounter in the process. Larry's meditation, and thank you, Larry, brought us to settling ourselves and trying to see the broader view again. So it's somewhat a matter of tradition in this church in recent years, like I had mentioned a little bit earlier, when we come back together after our summer diaspora, when people spread all over the place, or have a tendency to travel more and be gone a bit longer. I know people travel all year, but it seems like more people tend to go away for the summer or to attend less frequently. So when the school year begins, we start our church year over again, and with the fall, we honor some Jewish traditions of Rosh Hashanah, where we, at the beginning of the High Holy Days, and we do apples and honey to remind us of the sweetness and potential of what lies before us, the hopes and potential sweetness of life, and how things can be better. And then we begin settling up. We look at things that might have been left unsaid, damage we may have done to relationships, or wrongs that we may have left unaddressed, and we prepare to do what we can to right those wrongs. We settle up our debts. And that's all part of preparing for the Jewish holiday of Yom Kippur. These are the holiest, the high holy days in the Jewish tradition. And like I said, they're time for settling up debts that need to be paid and making apologies owed to others, righting any wrongs that we may have left unaddressed. So I would say one of the first movements of our church year, as we return to begin settling in, is to get settled up. This practice frees us up so that we can, our spirits can begin finding the openness and the ease to settle. That's a hard thing to do. We are perpetually loading ourselves with things that keep us unsettled, whether it's by turning on the news or encountering difficulties in traffic. It doesn't matter what things unsettle us. The openness that we can find for ourselves by developing spiritual practices that help us settle, help us remain more centered and settled in all that we do. This past Thursday was Veterans Day, a time set aside to pay tribute to those who, as a nation, we have sent out in our name to settle the score. Most often in other lands. This task has at times been described as noble, as self-sacrifice for worthy causes, defending the vulnerable from the malicious. Other times, we have, at least in hindsight, found some of our efforts to be misguided. Business with which we really had no right to interfere. In either case, far too often those sent in our name to settle the score someplace else, or maybe even in this country, experience things that unsettle their souls. With humility, we lift our gratitude for the courage of our veterans. With aching hearts, we lift our prayers and hopes that those spirits may find their way back to peace. At this point, I want to invite each of you to sift through your own thoughts, each of us to sift through our own thoughts and feelings. Do we find there that it's easy to settle ourselves? Or do we feel restless? Is it hard to sit? Is it hard to become calm and relax our bodies and hearts and minds? If we're tired enough, we may be falling asleep. I guess that's a good thing. But are there experiences that have left us unsettled that we might do well to address from this week? From the last couple of days? Are there scores we feel our part in has not been reconciled? I understand that there are those among us who don't feel fully alive unless they are engaged in something exciting and adrenaline-inducing, new experiences, challenges to be met. The last thing they may want is to settle down. And then there are others for whom the luxury and privilege of being able to settle down is a long-awaited achievement of a lifetime of hard work. I have no doubt that every single individual here and here can, without any trouble, name circumstances that have been somewhat unsettling, disquieting to our thoughts, to our space, to our spirits. We can identify things that have diminished the spirits of others that we cannot abide. There are people all over this land and all over the world that are being treated cruelly, violently, unjustly. Earlier this week, I was speaking with a 28-year-old Egyptian who had just been released by ICE. He is from a Coptic Christian sect, which he said in Egypt is still heavily persecuted. When he was a child, he witnessed a particularly brutal killing that still affects him. But he was talking about in the facilities here in the state of Louisiana, part of what they experience are rats in the facility and roaches in the facility and water that's brown. This is here, our state, people for whom we are responsible for their care, no matter why they are there. As Unitarian Universalists, we believe in the inherent worth and dignity of every single person, and they need to be treated that way, whether they're incarcerated or walking around in a neighborhood. We cannot settle for such conditions. In this city, one school does not enjoy the same supplies or funding as another school. We are called not to settle for inequities that perpetuate inequities. People are hungry. People are homeless. People need care. We are people who are called to speak and stand and act for the dignity and value of all people, even people that frighten us. Even people that it's hard for us sometimes to stomach. It's still our covenant. It's still our challenge. Systems are deeply flawed, if not at a point beyond repair. The future is unwritten. What happens next, we don't know. Again, I say, even if we are at points in our lives at which we have settled down, we're still called to be ministers, to comfort the afflicted and afflict the comfortable. And again, I say, we can only be our most effective in any of these tasks if we first do the work, the perhaps uncomfortable work of finding ways to settle our own spirits. We can't build beloved community if we're walking around the world like this. We can hopefully find in community things that will nurture us and ease us into helping to locate our own ways for spiritual growth, for being settled. I know I'm using that word a lot. It's interesting to me that the word sit and the word settle don't have the same root. Etymologically. You might want to look at that. I'm not going to go off on that tangent right now. This week, may each of us, may you mindfully create space for your own spirit to find peace with what is. May we each face what is unsettled in our own lives and find ways of productive measures to heal that. Let's not beat ourselves up as we learn, but love ourselves into loving more broadly, more effectively, in the face of all that is wrong, that needs care, that needs our courage. Let us never cease our efforts to become embodiments of settled spirit and beloved community. Our closing hymn is There Is More Love Somewhere. It's number 95 in Singing the Living Tradition, the gray hardback hymnal, and the lyrics will be on the screen. I cannot see them from up here. So if I knock them out of order, I apologize. This is usually in your key, so if I either sing really low or have to stop at some point, y'all make up for it, okay? Love, hope, peace, joy. Love, hope, peace, joy, love. There is more love somewhere. There is more love somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more love choir masks in so that you can hear the people that like to sing more clearly. I will be more conscientious about that next time. So let's sing There's More Love together. There is more love coming. There is more love somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more love somewhere. Thank you. I hope you have found this hour settling, and this space, that space, a place that's easy to settle. Knowing your own inherent worth, that you have found encouragement to spiritual growth here. Free to be responsible. I hope you've found this hour unsettling, so that you're perhaps moved to do what you can for justice, equity, compassion, and the interdependent web. And about what you are called to effect. I hope we have found here impetus to work for dismantling systems of oppression and for building beloved community of the world. Carry this light with you. May we hold its warmth. May we find guidance through this community and through the truth that we are ever seeking. Amen. Ashe. Blessed be. So be it. Go in peace.